Fourth game of the series between Astralis and Riddle. Let's talk about this one. So we know you're not allowed to ban the Swain because you have to deal with the Talea. Wukong seems to be an issue as well. Is Riddle forced to ban the Wukong? And before I throw you that question, Merbs, I'm going to give you some information and insight. Riddle lost, so they have the side to pick. Where do you think they're going to be?
I think they will go blue side.
You think they're going to go blue?
Yeah.
I want the justification before I give you an answer.
I think they want to go blue because they want to change something up. And I think it's time for Jax Plank to blind pick something.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 points, which makes you the victor of today's game on the true or false, because it is blue. They picked the blue side. I saw your face. You're not happy with this one.
Oh, that's disgusting. That's
I make the rules, I guess.
I'm out. That's it. I
So
can't
yeah,
do it.
they picked the blue side, Duckling.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a blind pick for Jax Plank.
And I think that's...
Is it going with an R?
I think that's completely fine. I don't want to see him on an on. No. But for me, I get Merbs' idea that you want to switch something up. Now you're in a pretty rough situation. You won the first game because you had a good late game and knew how to play that, but you didn't fully win the first game by dominating. You lost the second game pretty dominantly, and then you threw the lead in the third game. So you're at a pretty tough spot. And I agree, you need to change something up. And I don't think the counter pick for Jack Bang is what wins them or loses them the game. So I'm happy that they're swapping, because then their bans might be changing a bit. That first pick, they can get some priority in early on if they want to. I think it's a good idea for Riddle of all.
Curveball for you, Merbs. Do you think the last pick, the red side pick, is going to be a counter pick for support to allow Kiba to roam even further beyond? Or is it top laner?
I think it's a good idea, but I think it depends on if they can get a good ADC before. But it's either support or top lane.
Last question before we show your poll, by the way, chat. I always love that one. Does anybody on the desk believe Riddle has what it takes to come back from this one?
I think it's all down to the draft. If they get a draft where they're comfortable and Jax Plank gets ahead early on within the first 5 minutes, I could see them taking it to game number 5. But if Astralis get ahead early, it's very hard for me to see Riddle be able to come back.
Well, let's see how the chat is behaving right now with your poll. It is 73-27 Astralis. After Astralis' victory, it's still majorly Riddle.
People are staying faithful. They went in predicting Riddle. They are sticking with that prediction. And I mean, at the moment, for me, I think it should be Astralis that were the favorites if you really look at it coming in with momentum. But I respect that people are sticking with their opinions. They're saying, I think Riddle can do it. I thought that at the start of the day, I still believe that. So they're not glory hunters in that sense.
You know what? We're about to jump into Champion Select, and I would like this to happen, but this is up to our social media or even mods. I would like to see a poll for the chat to get to know, who would you rather ban from the game? Yuumi or Teemo? I would love to see that poll. I would really like to see that poll.
I think Yuumi's number 1.
Chat, you ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Let's go for what could possibly be the last Champion Select of the day. Match point for the stars, Astralis Talent, or will Riddle come back from this one? It's a complicated question, but let's get the answer on this Champion Select. Riddle coming in with the Renata for the first time. First ban as well. Nan is available. Wukong is available. Poppy is available. Taliyah is available. Everything is available, even Yuumi. What do we get to see right now?
Obviously, we see the Yuumi ban. I very much want to highlight normally, or the last 2 games, Riddle have banned the Seraphine on the red side. They likely won't do that this time around because if it doesn't get banned, they can first pick it. So I feel like Astralis have to change their bans to ban the Seraphine. Otherwise, I don't see a reason why Riddle wouldn't slug it in.
Okay. So Gwen, they're trying to prepare the blind pick as safely as possible. What do you believe Gwen counters that Jax Plank wants to pick? Or is this a regular pick?
I think it's just a general S tier pick right now. That's
especially on Carlsen.
Yeah, that's something that they just want to get out.
I think as well, the fact that he can match pretty much anyone on the side lane, Gwen, is super strong there. So that's what we really saw in game number 2. Jaxplank wasn't a side lane menace because he couldn't win the 1v1. He was losing it to the very, very strong late game of a Gwen. So I think it's just a very safe ban, allowing Jaxplank to get that side lane pressure a lot easier this time around. So the puppy gets banned as well. This is Riddle that actually does it. They played it for 2 games in a row now, but they are the ones banning it, which I guess they realize we won't have success with it anymore. So let's just take it off the table so Texac can't play it. Interestingly as well, Astralis, they are betting the Wukong because they know it will be a strong first pick, but that leaves the Taliyah open. That's already locked in. So Astralis, what will they respond with here? That's interesting because that's a very strong roaming mid laner already gone.
We saw Taliyah on the first game. It was really important for the game, regardless of the victory for any team. And we finally get to see Taliyah yet again on this best of 5. So it's going to be the first pick for Riddle. What is the reply for Astralis? There's still the Zeri, for instance, for Crispberg. If he wants to go for that again, they're not instantly picked. So it's not going to be a counter pick for the top line. Either you save it for the mid line or for the support, that I believe Kiba is a beast.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the counter pick for support here. So I think they are probably just going to lock full topside here.
I'll go for the jungle, then you have the top line as well. You don't reveal the mid laner, you probably get an AD carry before the last one.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, see, that is extremely interesting. It was banned in game 1 because they know Texas is comfortable on it. He's played it a lot throughout the split. But the thing is, when he last played it, it was broken. It was very strong. Since then, Viego has had some nerfs that has put him down to the, yeah, he's playable, but he's not that strong. So the draft really going out of control as Illusion.
Oh.
Nami gets instantly locked in. Well, that is something different for the bot lane.
If you have this much amount of pressure on the bot lane, if you camp the top, Lucian is going to be out of control. So now this is a curveball of where do you want to camp? You either go for top, you either go for bot. You can have both.
Yeah, I think this is good from Riddle, that they actually throw a curveball and actually changing the side too. And throwing a strong side bot laner here is really surprising, I think.
This is all in. This is good luck.
All cards on deck.
I like it.
It's the adaptation that we're now getting to see because they saw, okay, so the top lane strategy hasn't worked now in 2 games in a row. Let's try something different. Let's play around a strong 2v2 down in the bot lane, probably one of the best, if not the best in the whole game to punish 2v2 early and get some 2v2 kills. So this is going to be very different. And the thing is, if Kiba leaves the lane to roam, all of a sudden Crispberg is so isolated down the bot lane and there is more than enough damage for Kevo and Nash to simply just 2v2 or 2v1 Crispberg and kill him multiple times. So the game will be changing a lot just because of that bot lane.
So on one side you want to protect the AD carry, obviously on the other side you want to take away some guns from Jaxplank. So maybe the Jax will be removed. GP is available, we haven't seen him yet being played today, even though he has been open most of the entire cities.
Yeah, the Jax was removed here and Riddle just keeps targeting. Oh, it's still Lissandra. I thought they were gonna ban ADCs here, but
there's a lot of from front to back from Astralis so far. Swain could be a viable option to the mid lane. I'm kind of scared this could be an option for Senkox.
More so importantly, the Silas is still open, something we have seen banned throughout the whole series. I could definitely see why Astralis want to lock this in and ensure we get the Silas that both of us play to near perfection. But they're going for the AD carry. They're sticking with, okay, even if we give up the Silas now, it's still better that we have the counter pick so we can ensure a good matchup here for the side of Senkox. So that is another late game scaling AD carry. Main problem is it's not an AD carry that can do a lot in the early game. So he needs some coverage, otherwise he can definitely be exposed up against the Lucian army.
I'm seeing a lot of late game for Astralis. I don't get to see any sort of early game, and it seems like Riddle is looking for that early.
There it is.
He has been available. Nobody has picked it. So there's a lot of early game for Riddle on the bot side. Can they match this? Because we know if Astralis lose the early game, it could be dangerous for them.
I like the Aphelios pick from Astralis because it's actually something that can punish the Nami Lucian together with the Nautilus to actually get kills if they do a mistake. As the silence.
And there's a lot of ultis you want to steal away. You have the even the Nautilus, and let's see what they pick for the mid lane. This could be an interesting as well. So they're just giving more power to the Silas, and we know both mid laners spam the Silas. This is going to be a scary one.
Yeah, and I talked about it, right? Either you pick the Silas on the fourth row on the fourth pick for Astralis, or you leave the chance of it being taken, but then you have to counter it at the very least. So I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't really like what Astralis have been going on here. I don't think this is the greatest thing that we could have seen for them. They've given up a lot of power picks. And the Lucian Nami curveball makes both teams have to play differently. So whichever team can adapt to that the best is going to have the upper hand. But I really like what Riddle have done here all around. I think they have honestly won this draft.
If I may, I would like to keep this image of the champion select as we are going to dive in onto this one. We really need this picture moving on, as there was a situation with the champion select, so the teams are just mirror making. It's going to be the same champions being picked in, but this allows us to go in really deep on what can we expect from both teams. Looking into Riddle, you have the GP. Talia on the jungle as well, and a lot of aggressiveness on the bot side. What sort of attention can Astralis look into this team from Riddle and say, where do we focus? How can Astralis face these guys?
How can Astralis face these guys? Well, the main thing for me is normally I would default to the blueprint, look at it and say, okay, we want to take our jungler, we want to move him mid, gain a lead. Well, that's pretty hard when your mid lane is a very weak early game or late game oriented Asir. So what do you really do? Well, you could go down to the bot lane then, you think, and then you could look to play for Chrisberg. But that's very hard because your 2v2 is not completely weak, but compared to a Lucian Nami, it is weak. So you're up against pretty much losing matchups in a lot of lanes, and you can also get poked out in the top lane as well. So I'm honestly struggling to find something here that I can say, this is what they need to play for. My best bet would be the Viego is a little bit better early on. Talia loses a lot of HP on her first clear, so maybe you could look to get an invade, punish Stefan early if Taxa finds his route early on and get something there. But I'm really grasping at straws because I think Riddle are very good, very nicely covered in all lanes.
I'm going to throw you a curveball because it's not a Poppy, it's a Talia, but regardless of that, you dash with an R, you dash with a Viego, Azir as well, and even Nautilus. The only one that doesn't dash is going to be the AD carry. So Gale Force, it's a reality.
It is.
It is. Oh, mommy. No, it's a reality coming in for the bot line. So all 5 of them possibly could have a dash. How can you deal with this Talia? Do you think Astralis got out draft? Merps, tell me.
I don't think so, really. I think it comes down to not being punished. I think if Riddle can keep up pressure in bot lane but not get punished by the Nautilus and the Aphelios setup in lane, I think they can do well, but I think they have a really easy time actually punishing this aggression.
Okay, definitely.
I want to say as well, this time for me, it's on Riddle to do something early and build a lead up in that 2v2 down in the bot lane. So if they fail to do that, Chrisberg gets 3-4 items pretty freely, Senkox just sits and chill. Like if we go into hyper late game, yes, there are some tools on the side of Riddle, but the combo of an Aphelios this year, to me, is very, very strong. So if you go into the hyper late game, Astralis can definitely win, but we're completely flipping the script from Astralis having to do stuff early and use that lead to win the late game. It is now Riddle who has to build up a lead early and use that to win, because it's going to be hard for them in the late game. It's not impossible. They have the GP, they have Silas as well, but it's going to be way harder than it was if they got that 2v2 ahead.
So you both believe that this game is the opposite, the coin flip, like flipping the coin of the first game, where Riddle had Astralis had a timer, and they had to do something, or else the late game would fall on Riddle. This is the opposite.
Yeah, you could say. I think it's pretty similar, but yeah, just switch.
You know what? I'm going to ask. Give me that prediction. Let's start with Duckling because he felt like he didn't give a proper prediction on the previous game.
That's just because you took me out of context and forced me to predict Riddle when I wanted to predict Astralis. But
give me a prediction right now. I'm looking at you.
This is very hard for me to completely say because I think Astralis in the late game should take this one. We just saw how good their late game teamfights was. But honestly, I'm confident enough that Riddle can build an early lead and that they will be able to snowball it. So for once in this series, I'm going to say Riddle will win game 4.
That is a prediction?
That is the
Can I lock it in?
You can lock it in.
It's Riddle locked in. What about you, Merps? Give me a prediction.
I think Riddle is not going to make the big leads coming out in the early game, so I think Astralis is going to take it.
Okay, so we are tied up on the desk. I want to know from you guys at home on the chat, who do you think is going to win? Just spam it away as we toss it to the casters one more time. This could be it.
I don't think that's Duckling anymore. I think that's a cuckoo.
We lost him.
Definitely, he's been replaced. That bird has been replaced in the nest because there's no way.
You know what?
No way he votes against Astralis. I can't believe it.
You can tell Gulbok raised him But we were the ones to educate him.
We're the negative influence in his teenage
We
years.
educated him
Oh, I
properly
see.
on
I
what a
see.
good draft looks like and what a winning draft looks
This
like.
is where he goes home to Gulborg and is like, it's not a phase, Dad. He's just wearing his emo clothing, like, Riddle are real champions, with like his like Riddle shirt on and stuff. There's content in this, Duckling. I'm just saying, gonna happen. Rename to Cuckoo, make it happen. There's a whole like new phase for you. Anyway, moving away from messing around with our analysts as they leave the room. Very different draft from Riddle. They've been playing a lot for Jax Plank advantages, and this is the other side of the Jax Plank name. He's got his Gangplank, but that's a Lucian Nami bot lane. They are focusing bot heavy this time.
I think right now they've got 3 lanes that can carry, plus a jungle that can carry.
Yeah.
Right now, Riddle are going to be running on full cylinders. Lucian Nami going hard. Level 6, you've got Gangplank ult to assist that. You've got Italia that's going to be perma-roaming them up because she's in the jungle.
Sure.
You never know where she's going to end up. Fast passive moving through the jungle also means your bot, next 30 seconds, you're all the way to the top of the map. And of course, Sylas with Gnar ult, with Azir ult, with so many useful tools that you can steal away, can actually create pretty big fights for the side of Riddle and Vladdy. Jax Plank had been very pivotal so far to this series for this team.
And I want to take this moment before we start heading towards the Rift to remind people, Astralis and Spring were not a good team. They really sucked. They replaced one player, Kiba, who has been basically the engine room to this ridiculous we roam around with mid and jungle to make things happen. And when we were coming into playoffs, we made the assumption X7 would pick Astralis. They look like the worst team here. Now we're in playoffs. Now they're doing this to Riddle. They pull off a game like that in the late game, and you begin to get just a little bit surprised, a bit excited as we head on in. And I think with that little bit of forecasting, time to head on to the Rift. What could be our final game of the day. The stars aligned well and truly for Astralis in that last one to pull off a monster late game 4-minute extended slobber knocker they came out on top of. They've got to hold on to the early game this time around though.
And I feel like Astralis have showed a few different playstyles in this one as well. They've all been centered around Senkux. Yes, he has been the one that gets perma-prio in the mid lane. He gets his counter pick in the mid lane. He gets to be the one that crushes his lane and then bleeds the vision, bleeds the pressure around the map. But it's been about Carlsen carrying one game, Grisberg carrying the other, them playing for early game, then playing for mid game, then them playing for the late game. And it seems like this Astralis team has been adapting to the difficulties they've been facing through that best of 5. And again, I completely agree with you. One player replacement was all it took for a second academy team to show up in summer. The fact that Kiba can play through lane, he roams a lot through mid, he goes and links up together with Taxa all game long. He covers for Carlsen so well, which is so pivotal in this series. We said that Jax Plank is going to eat him alive together with Stefan if they let Carlsen all alone. Kiba has been sprinting it with every reset.
Reminder of how a team like RNG got the hold of MSI when Xiaohu was their top laner. Ming, level 3, reset, roam top.
Yep.
On Nautilus, on Rakan. And you can sort of see a little bit of that in how Kiba's playing as well, and that kind of, how do you play around topside as a support? How do you try and catch people off guard? How do you protect your top laner against a player like Jax Plank who's playing things like the Aurelia? Of course, this time around, it's Jax Plank's turn maybe to play for his bot lane. And we've got this Lucian Nami into the Athelios and the Nautilus, like pretty aggro lanes with a lot of carry potential and kill potential on both sides in a lot of ways here.
And of course, we've been talking a lot about Kiba, but we cannot leave his counterpart out as well in the likes of Nash for Riddle, because if anything, I'd say he's been one of the best performing supports that we had in the league. But what's very impressive about him is actually his champion pool. He plays anything from enchanters to engage, disengage supports, and of course the usual stuff like Nautilus and Leonas. We didn't want to add it in there and clutter because this looks really beautiful. The Nami, the Rakan, the Renata, the Rel, Ashe.
Ashe
coming in as
support,
well.
Imperial Mandate, the bane of every ARAM game out there.
His Ashe performance actually looked impeccable as well, and the fact that you see that Riddle is in general so flexible with picks and what they can play towards the bot side of the map, again, allows the top side to play whatever they want. Mainly, it's going to be the top side of the map on the AD carries, the Avrelias, the Yones, the Yasuos, and then Kevo falls into more of a secondary carry role playing the likes of Seraphine and whatnot with together with Nash. This time, you mentioned it from the draft, they're on the driver's seat, Lucian Nami, all eyes for level 6. For Vladdy, for Jax Plank to try and snowball that bot side of the map.
Check in a little bit. Reminder people, those hashtag NLC pets, keep them coming. We love to see them. Well, you want cute pets? Well, I've got this cat. What a cute cat that is. Don't know if he counts cute. He definitely does.
Actually, I really like the ICBA face on cats.
Yep.
It's literally my favorite thing because you can sit there and pet them and love them and they have the face of, are you done yet, human?
It's like literally put a pillow on me. It's like,
But then, when you walk away, they're like, where do you think you're going?
yeah, literally, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And there's a wonderful subreddit for people who've seen it called
Cats are like women. You cannot satisfy them.
It's an Evelyn quote.
I'm talking as a woman, okay?
Very careful with.
Listen, I'm allowed to say it because I'm talking from that side of the wall.
Oh boy, how many things can I say that are both broadcast appropriate and life appropriate? Is Carlsen about to be helped out here by Taxa as Jaxplank trying to play this one up best he can. He knows Tax is around. I don't know how much he's got to do with. As Carlsen taken very low here. Will use the W pretty well. Thinking about flashing, tries to bait it out, but there's a wall in the bush. I don't think Jaxplank's got anywhere to go. We're going to see what they can do as Vladdy's coming up. Still got somewhere, but there's a Conqueror stacked and just nowhere to go. A shuffle from Senkux and a flash to boot. Secures first blood. It goes to Senkux and they didn't even play for mid lane.
Very well done right there. Senkux is like, you ain't getting away. Vladdy was actually zoning him out from roaming first, but it's actually going to be a...
Yeah, first blood as well. And
Stefan flash?
I mean, so I'm just checking this in here because Chrisberg's flashed as well. So I think while all that was happening, there was a play attempted bot
Yeah,
side.
bot lane action.
Yeah, and so that's what my sleuthing has suggested. So what it means is Chrisberg down heal, down flash, potentially punishable even as Riddle did get a little bit burned on the top side.
Very crucial as Kiba does find an opening on Nash right here, but...
Prison goes wide and Nash chunked out a fair amount. We'll see the replays here and find out
bot lane,
exactly
okay.
how it happened.
So, Stefan is all the way to the bot side, and Kiba and Chrisback are on this stage where they actually have to crush the wave. They overextend Stefan with yet again a really lovely timer on his gang. Chrisback, I'm assuming, has to flash the knockup. Yep, there you go. Gets underneath the safety of his tower, uses both of his summoners to actually get away. And we'll see the replay again, of course, with Taxa chasing Jaxplank all the way from top lane. Very fancy from Senkux right there to flash and soldier, dash his soldier forward for the kill. And again, I think it's very important to reiterate how insanely well Senkux has been playing the early games this freaking entire series on no other than 4 different champions, all 4 used to create space for his team. This time though, on the Azir, he's playing on one of these control mages that can do a bunch of damage in this late game. So he's not just there so Chrisberg can stand still and press his buttons, he's also there to carry himself, and let's see how well he can do this already. 5 minutes in, Lost Chapter locked in, which means you're going to be perma-shoving that Silas underneath his tower.
And Senkux is a player who we're very glad to have seen step up of his things. The space that was quiet. He's renamed to his OG name.
It was the name change, I'm telling you.
What that always is Kiba. Where's Vladdy here as this early Hex Drake is going to be traded as Vladdy hijacks a depth charge.
There is no smite on Taxa, so they need to be
a little bit wary.
a little bit cautious, yeah.
Away with it though.
Pulling out the dragon, but nevertheless, Astralis are going to secure.
And this mid lane matchup has been an interesting one. It's a narrative we've kind of had.
Yeah.
That Vladdy is the youngest mid laner in the league.
He's what, 16?
16, I believe, and then on the other side, Senkux, veteran of many years at many tiers of play. Hell, this is a guy who went to Worlds back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's been a good split for him. Is it at the level of, say, Tempt or Backland? Probably not. But this series, he has played so many styles, so much sport. He's done very, very well.
I think he'd make a case for himself.
He's made the case for himself, right?
In this particular series, because even though Astralis' Summoner's Rift could fall apart and has been falling apart in a few sides, Senkux has been the rock that
been very
keeps
consistent.
it together in this entire best of 5. Talking about this entire best of 5, Vladdy has found himself a jungler.
Ooh, does manage to get the smart, but Tax has to flash away. No ult available, and Vladdy will take that opportunity with that hijacked depth charge to force Taxa away and get Stefan some Raptors.
Very important is something that we see here is Nash actually linking up with his for the first time this series and actually moving towards the top side of the map. And this is something that we discussed in the green room. The fact that it's an Aphelios down the bot lane into a Lucian Nami, Kiba cannot roam as much. If you leave an Aphelios without flash in the bot lane into Lucian Nami, the Aphelios, 1, cannot walk up to his wave, or if he does, he dies. Yeah. So Kiba doesn't have the luxury of roaming as much as he did until Chrisberg has his summoner up and available.
Kiba just hiding away out of vision here, looking to see whether there's a flash play available, but not going to happen right now. Now with the level 6 available, cover becomes a lot more lethal. That kill threat goes up. Of course, no Gale Force in yet, and Lucian really comes online once that comes through. I think anybody who's seen Ruler play over in the LCK can tell you exactly how disgusting.
I'll give you the OG Lucian, by the way.
Yeah.
Bang.
Oh, jeez, yeah. So one of my favorite games of all time was SKT versus CJ Entus.
Okay.
And this was game 4, where Lucian plays the hyper carry, where Bang plays the hyper carry Lucian with
Karma
Faker on
Lulu.
Lulu and gets a wonderful, wonderful near penta on it. Glorious game. Back in CJ Entus' glory days, Taxa finds himself in a very dangerous position, and there's a broken heart to be dealt with. He'll get himself a hold of the Herald, but it comes at cost. Not Valentine's Day, but his heart's still definitely in pieces.
Very importantly, it was not stolen away, but Nash is having Kiba's number in this game. He's the first one to get roaming, he's the first one on the board, he's the first one towards top lane, and Kiba might be looking towards a 3-man skirmish versus him, but it's not going to be the case. Again, Nash on this Nami has been perma-roaming the map, linking up together with Stefan. Stefan who's playing more of a squishy champion this time, more of a carry type of champion. Having that Nami right there gives you a second pillar of security, I would like to say. Talking about security.
Vladdy very
Kiba's not very secure there, is he?
So far, exactly. And I do want to turn my eyes back to Stefan a little bit, because this is a player who, beginning of the split, was getting huge advantages in for herself, even with players in the wrong positions and substitutes involved.
And a lot of praise from us.
Exactly, had a lot of praise for his pathing, his ability to get individual advantage. But that was on things like, oh, Viego as a stun comes through, but I think Jaxplank should be okay. Is indeed, does have an orange to eat should things get tricky alongside a Biscuit, so he'll get to walk away. And this time Stefan is off something like the Poppy, which is a bit more facilitating and has been quiet, shall we say. He's on a Talir, he's on a Dark Harvest Talir nonetheless. And this is a champion perhaps more in the wheelhouse of what got him praise from us at the beginning of the split.
Very importantly, that I saw right here, since we're talking about carries, Senecax has already completed his mythic. He's gone towards the crown. It's a 9-minute mythic for Senecax in the mid lane. And as you can see, he's more than 10 CS per minute on the Azir, plus a kill. Senecax is profusely refusing to lose this best-of series. Let's see if not only can he create opportunities for his team, but actually carry for them this time onto the Azir, heading towards the bot side of the map. 4-man bot is the first time.
My days, Chrisberg, what reactions he has now. The flash turn from Nash has to come through. It is a 4v4, keep it taken very low. They'll summon the Herald, but I don't know how easy it's going to be to make that one work. They might even be able to stop the charge here. Do so. And Chrisberg with the rapid reactions. Riddle prevents the Herald play.
Yeah, I think that was really clever from Astralis to try and pull off a bottling gank, which no one has seen in this best-of series, but Vladdy?
As Senkux outthought his opponent here. Do so well, Vladdy. Gonna try and heal it best he can. Gets over the wall and stays alive. Senkux, little mission behind the lines, is not going to lead to any kills, aside from a little bit of damage.
Very importantly, though. Oh, top lane, top lane!
Jaxplank goes down. Carlsen gets the solo. It's game 2 all over again.
Jaxplank was the solo bowler king that we had right under MNS, and Carlsen shuts that lead closed with Jaxplank in it. Solo bowler for the young top laner. What I wanted to say was the fact that Senkux was so ahead in CS, more than 10 CS per minute. And right now, the fact that you poke Vladdy out of the picture means that he gets to shove in yet another wave. Vladdy falls further behind. Vladdy did not have the teleport because he teleported into this fight, which means that more priority comes towards the bot side of the map for Astralis through Senkux.
They get early Herald, 2 Drakes, get the kill there as well, and Jaxplank, honestly, the two tough games Jaxplank has had is one in game 2 on his signature Jax. He's now down twice on his other signature pick in the Gangplank.
Is it a bait?
Is it a bait? Is it just one of those?
Okay.
One of those series. He can still turn this around. Of course, this is a Gangplank, but not what we want to see.
Yeah, let's of course reiterate that a Gangplank is probably one of the most S-tier plus picks right now for top lane. A lot of the times blind pickable as well. A lot of teams are willing to be on it, especially in the LEC. Look at Rogue for Odoamne, look at Vitality for Alphari. A lot of teams do really value that champion as a pick because she does have, of course, impact on the map after level 6 with the Cannon Barrage. You saw right there in the bot lane as well.
There, however, is a bit of a pause. It appears to be some connection issues as far as we can tell. Vladdy.
Yeah, but do they get to see our lovely faces?
I don't know. The lights are on.
Oh.
Begin to wonder.
Hold
There
up.
it is.
Hold it. Hey.
Aren't we handsome and beautiful? Lovely to see you all. I'm going to pretend I can see you. I'm just like staring into the camera and pretending I can see all of you there.
Actually, the
at
funny
home.
thing is, we can't see very well
No.
because the lights go down during the cast,
Yeah.
and then they suddenly go bright.
Exactly.
And we're like, hold on, where are the
Like,
cameras at?
This is basically, this is equivalent to like getting a fake tan here. Just stand in the studio lights and like turn around every now and then and try not to sizzle too much.
Yes.
I love how you went, I'm just not taking that.
I was about to say,
Very reasonable.
I was about to say that's not how it works, but you know what? Have it. This time, just have it.
Perhaps don't take tanning advice from me, of all people. Jokes aside and slightly facetious commentary aside, this game, Astralis have done pretty well, honestly, to manage the Lucian Nami, get themselves the early objectives again. And we've talked about Zencox, seeing Carlsen here on the Gunnar as well. Looking pretty okay.
I think everything's going pretty peachy for Astralis, honestly. Carlsen getting the solo kill, I think, is one of the biggest points because you get that self-confidence boost towards the top side of the map. You're expected to be the weak side top laner who absorbs pressure because Jaxplank is the biggest tool that Riddle have on his side lane. Being able to shut him down on your own on the pick that technically, well, Jaxplank had the counter pick and he chose to go for the Gangplank, who suffers early on versus the Na and then becomes a minute later. But Carlsen coming up ahead, and honestly, Senkax with the early kill, more than 10 CS per minute, already a mythic item 9 minutes in. He's shoving Vladdy under his tower. He's pushing him away. He's about 30 CS up.
Yeah.
He's allowing his team to have priority in the bot side river. They've also gotten the first dragon. I think it's going pretty well.
Don't get me wrong. Tax's early visit into the top side and then that extended, like, Benny Hill kind of chase through the jungle, flash shift, kill for... That's the can, and I appreciate that, but...
It's something that can go with, like, fast-forward motion.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Moulin Rouge reference is now coming through. It's a... I've never actually watched that movie, thinking about it.
Okay, I'm sorry, but having an artistic background, I never expected this from you. So next time we're at my place, we're watching Moulin Rouge. Accept?
There you go. Deal made live on air. I can't refuse now. And quick heads up from production as well, as the tangents probably keep flying for a little bit here. Riddle's mid. Vladdy has DC to try and reconnect. That's what we're waiting on here.
Greek
It's why we
internet,
are...
man, I'm telling you.
That's what it did. And it's Greek internet, as Trouble sadly knows. Not that Berlin internet always has the most reliable reputation either, but...
No, but trust me. Trust me on that one.
George is like, no, you don't understand Greek internet. Do you want to take this opportunity, though, to also go back onto this conversation about Astralis and this kind of level they've come into at playoffs, quietly improving through the split, but we were like, well, where is their ceiling? And now hitting this series with, honestly, such consistent high levels pretty much across the board is very impressive.
What's very impressive for a team is that usually in best of ones during the regular split, the team will try to find the best formula that works for them and then try to abuse that and keep going with that one formula. And they say, if we're that good at our game in a best of one, they might not be able to beat us. Now, what's even more important is your adaptability in a best of series. When a team has actually beaten you in your own game on the first game of the series, what do you do to come back? And that's what Astralis tried. They were so far ahead in the first game, Riddle turning back, and they're like, hold on a second, we're losing at our own game. They go back in, heads back into the drawing board, they play a flawless mid-game into victory. Game 3, they play a flawless mid to late game into victory. Their team fighting's stellar, and that shows you the adaptability and the willingness for the team to keep playing their best game.
And honestly, we had questions about both of these teams and their ability to move out of their playbook. And while I think it's fair to say both teams have still played to the playbook, the champions they've used to do it, the drafts they've used to do it, have been very versatile. Look at Sencock's picks. Everything from the Azir to the Swain to the Talia. Very versatile. Yeah, exactly. Lissandra as well. That's quite a wide variety of styles of pick. Look at the bot lane now as well. Nash has had some crazy champions across the split. Had a few interesting ones this one as well. I think these teams have come in very well prepped for this best of 5, and it's led to a very exciting, very tense series so far.
I think, if anything, it speaks miles for the development that the NLC has had and the teams that we have produced throughout the seasons, right? We used to speak about only the big academy teams, the Fanatics, the Excels that were over here. Then Astralis joins, a little bit of a disappointment. Look at them now. Look how far they've come, right? JDXL have already qualified, Dusty have already qualified, and there's only one spot. And if X7 are waiting on that next bracket and watching, they both look like they will not go down without a fight.
That is a question, right? Either Riddle or Astralis will be moving on to face X7 and giving a fair amount of footage here, honestly. And the question then becomes, How far do you think either of these teams could go against X7? It's a conversation we start to having, because honestly, the level from both teams, higher particularly from Astralis than I expected. But is it high enough to topple over X7 of all people? Especially considering the form they've recently been on.
And honestly, if you think about this as well, out of all the 3 teams that we've watched during the best of series, there's only one ticket that can go among them. Talking about tickets though, we're gonna be sending it over to the desk to have a lot more fun conversations over there with their beautiful faces.
Easy
over to you, boys.
They can reconnect.
Thank you. Welcome back to the desk as we have a little pause inside of the game. So we're going to be with you guys, allowing the casters to breathe. They need it. It's going to be a long game. And if Riddle takes this one, it's going to be 5 games. The first playoffs going into best of 5, actually 5 games. You promised me 5 games today. So if I don't get 5 games, you know what's going to happen.
Promise is a big word. I don't.
It's not that big though.
Did I really promise, or did I say?
Merbs is a witness.
I'm pretty sure me and Merb said it had a good chance of going to 5 games.
He's had a good chance. You promised the best of 5 and 5
I'm pretty sure you
games.
promised.
My man, I'm in. Merbs is cool,
This
man.
is tilting. This is tilting. I can't.
Have a break.
Have a Kit Kat.
Okay.
So, Riddle versus Astralis on this one. Obviously, this pause is really complicated. And I want to reach out to you, Merbs, on this specific situation. When I was a player, like back in the day, when internet was still like with a weird cable, my question is, when there was a pause in the middle of a best of 5, my momentum, my mentality would just break. If I was on a winning momentum, I would break. And if I was on a losing one, I would recover. Do you agree with this? Is this beneficial for any team right now?
I think it's actually very beneficial for Riddle to actually just calm down a bit and get the momentum back in your favor. I think it's something that's going to hurt Astralis just a slight bit, but I think they will be fine, honestly.
You think they'll be fine regardless of what happens?
Yeah.
Okay, at the beginning of the game, let's talk about this. I know you wanted to dive into this one. Dinar was picked first. GP was second. Solo Bolo.
Solo Bolo by the Danish prodigy. I mean, we're getting to see the side of Carlsen that I have definitely missed, because back before he really joined Astralis Talent, he was this kind of guy who liked to go for solo kill, who liked to make these big individual outplays. And on Astralis, while we sometimes still see that, he has often been focusing on learning how to play the weak side throughout the years, in all honesty. Both 21 and 22. But in this series, he is stepping up. He is having the individual outplays and glory moments that we all remember if you watched the Danish scene back in 2020. So it's good to see the side of Carlsen back. And more so, it's a very worrying sign for the side of Riddle, who haven't managed to get that bot lane rolling, which I think was the biggest win condition.
Yes.
And yet that top lane also forced behind. So they're in a bit of a chaos at the moment.
The clock is ticking. Well, there's a pause, but it's still clicking inside of the Summoner's Rift. And the timer that Riddle wanted to take, getting the Lucian ahead, even the GP stable, now winning the matchup, but just being stable, it's not working out. My question is, when the Lucian doesn't get any sort of gold or advantage versus the Nephelios and you get to the mid game, how dangerous and difficult is it to pilot the Lucian versus the Nephelios?
It's very difficult not being able to do what you want to do with the champ. I think you're getting very small openings to punish, and yeah, I think it will just be generally very hard for Kevo to pilot that.
So it seems like Riddle is losing some sort of winning condition versus Astralis right now. The GP being behind 0-2, I believe, on the top side. Carlsen getting the lead as well. Where can Riddle play for right now to face this Astralis? Because there's a clock ticking and the time is running out.
Well, I mean, the only real thing that hasn't been a bit of a disappointment so far is Vlad in the mid lane. He's doing totally fine. He will scale well into late game, so maybe you can try and accelerate him a little bit further. The bot lane is still a possibility, while they haven't had the early game success in the 2v2 priors that we expected and hoped from them. It's still possible to play around them. If Stefan gets a good gank, I don't know if the Flash is back up on the side of Crispy, but he was already down there using that and forcing him to use it once. So, you know, go back down there, force him to use some sums. If he doesn't have them up yet, maybe get a kill or two, try and get your bot lane ahead. There's still hope there. It's more so, You normally play around top lane, but you don't need to do that anymore. He's 0-2. Let him just chill. He will become GP eventually if you manage to drag out the game. Let him chill. Focus on your win conditions that you can still salvage, and then try and play through those.
And then we get to talk about mentality in this sort of situations. We're looking into a game where if Astralis wins, they move on. They move on the bracket. Riddle, that did such an amazing climb, as we shown in the beginning of the game, that I think it was 10, probably 8 winning streak out of a sudden. They're out of playoffs. They were the promised team that we were looking for during the entire regular split. They're facing the sword, they're against the wall, Merbs. As a player, how difficult is to pilot this if your last possibility is just running away from your hands in less than 10 minutes? How can you behave?
I think it's just something that this pause can probably help with quite a bit, because I can assume there's quite a bit of tilt going on Riddle's side when they're not able to play how they want to play, and changing up things completely like they did now in Game 4. So I think just a bit of pause, get some time to breathe, and maybe come up with some new game plan to actually execute on. I think it's something that can benefit them.
You're talking about pauses, and I received the information that we are sending it to a pause because it seems like it's a big pause. So as soon as we are allowed to come back into the game, we'll give you some sort of information. Just take this one as well. Go breathe a little bit. Go take a snack. Bring it back.
Kit Kat.
Possibly, yeah. Just come back as soon as you see the timer going off. I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you soon. Thank you for coming back. Are you still there? I hope you are. Okay, so we need to relay some information for you, really important information. Right now, what is happening is Riddle is having some issues with internet that is now allowing players to join in. And this means that a pause has been issued, but you only have an amount of time to get the pause in. Once that time goes out, it's up to the enemy, it's up to the opposing team to either borrow their own pause time or to move on. At this point, Astralis have given up their own pause time to Riddle to make sure that they can play this going forward. The rules are simple. If at the end of the pause there is no reconnection, it's going to be a default, which is terrible, obviously, and we all are aware of that, but rules are rules. But it seems like things are going, thankfully, for a good spot, and I believe the player is reconnecting, so let's hope we do get to see the fourth game of this series. It is a banger, so might as well end with the bang as well.
Look, if this,
I'm looking, okay.
If this series was going to be decided because someone had internet issues, I would be unfortunate. We've had 3 banging back and forth games. If Astralis ended up going through and facing X7 because the opponents had internet issues, that's no fun. They need to win fairly. I want them to win fairly. Obviously. I want this to be the 5-game series that we're all hoping for, where it goes back and forth and we're not sure who's going to win.
Okay.
And if the player's reconnecting and everything gets figured out, I'm crossing my fingers that we go into Game 5.
But I'm going to be honest with you. Rules are rules, and
that's how,
how tough it is.
We can't do anything about it if it's the rules, but it would be very sad to have to enforce those rules.
But I'm going to tell you that they are not going to be enforced due to the fact that the player is reconnected right now and is going back into the game. So we only have a few minutes before we jump to this one. It's important. This was a big pause for Riddle. Obviously, the mentality didn't went where they wanted because they got to get that breathing moment where they were like, okay, fine, we can breathe on this one. It's going poorly, we can still do it, but we might get disconnected and disqualified. So the tilt meter didn't went all the way down, obviously, right, Merbs?
No, I think when it's your team actually having to pass, it's...
even worse.
Yeah, you can actually cause some stress, not knowing what is going to happen, but... I think now, when he's reconnecting, I think they're going to be fine.
Okay. What about you? What do you believe right now for Astralis? This pause, do you think this is beneficial for them?
I don't think it benefits them, but I don't think it hurts them as well. I think they're fine. They're giving that time up. They're not stressing because, you know, if things went all the way wrong and Riddle wasn't able to reconnect, then they would have won. So they're not the ones stressing, but they're also just chilling. And they're losing a bit of momentum in that sense, but I don't think it's anything that will hurt them. It's more so for Riddle. If everyone's back on and everything works smoothly, then I don't think they lose much either. But it is very stressful sitting in a potential do-or-die, in your do-or-die game, actually.
Yeah.
With someone not being able to connect, and then you might be disconnected or might be disqualified because you're losing the game, then that is very stressful. And for me, I'm more scared for them if they actually had the time to plan. What are they going to do now? Or if they were just sitting there, oh, are we actually going to make it in time? Are we going to continue playing the series? So I hope it hasn't hurt them much. I hope the teams can continue where they left off and we can have a banging Game 4 and hopefully a banging Game 5.
You keep talking about that, Game 5, but it seems like Riddle has a clock ticking. It's not going for them, and Astralis are the one that have the late game. You keep talking about that Game 5. So explain to me how Riddle can come back from what deficit they're building right now versus this team that Astralis are building for the late game. I want to know more about that 5th game.
The deficit is not so huge that it is impossible to come back from. We've seen them come back from an 8K goal lead, but that was obviously with different drafts and everything. But looking into it, you still have some good late game scaling. You still have very good individual players. I'm particularly looking at Vladdy playing his comfort Silas. If he gets a good Nara ultimate off in the late game team fights, he is going to be able to almost single-handedly turn around the game. Then his team just needs to follow up in that sense. So they have strong late game tools still, even though their bot lane will fall behind. I believe they have good enough players to find the opportunities to bring themselves back into the game.
Do you agree with this statement, Merbs?
I don't completely agree. I think it's falling out of Riddle's hands. I think the late game is going to be very rough for them to pilot. But, I mean, there's still hope.
There's still hope for both teams, as we could go for the 5th game. And sadly, I just received this information that we are going to toss it to the casters and initializes there. But thankfully, Trouble is also there, so take it away, boys.
Right. I think if I plug this back in here, that should be his internet connection done.
Solo cast. Now everyone can mute.
I knew you were toxic, Trouble, but that's a bit much even for you.
3, 4.
All right, time to recap a little bit where we're at. Of course, as it stands, remind
Crumbs
people.
all over me as well. I was eating.
So, as we're kind of messing around here a little bit, giving a little bit of levity as we head back onto the Rift, a reminder of where we're at in the game. Astralis right now, up 2-1 in the series. Honestly, been up in terms of the plays thus far as well. Lucian has just completed that Gale Force, though, and that is the point when this champion can really start to take over a game.
And honestly, the story of the game for Astralis as well has been the fact that Kiba is perma-roaming, Senkax is on a setting-up champion like the Lissandra, the Swain, something that can lock people down, and then Taxan can pull off a gang together with Kiba. This time it's Senkax onto a carry. Look at Taxan though, going towards the bottom of the map. Kevo,
When looking for the Gale Force, trying to turn this around, but it's still going to be a 2 versus 3 tidal wave. Will keep Kiba with it. A flash forward from Taxan means nowhere to go. A depth charge comes out, and Chrisberg is donated the kill. The Lucian falls.
Astralis are taking no prisoners. I'm seeing 30 minutes into the game, 3 kills. Guess on who? On all 3 of their carries. Carlsen with the solo bolo, Senkax with the early game kill onto the Azir, and now Taxa moving towards the bottom of the map, knowing that, you mentioned it, Gale Force was completed, so Nami Lucian comes online, definitely want to take a kill onto that Aphelios. Carlsen now.
Stefan, you can't walk into that. You've got to be taking so much damage. He gets knocked at the wall. I think he's just dead. There's nowhere to go.
What?
That's just a solo kill.
That's the second solo kill for Carlsen, and again, big props to the Astralis. What? Tower went down as well. Big props to the Astralis top laner, respecting the fact that he knew his jungler was not around. He could potentially be getting dived. Full turret plating bot lane for Chrisberg on this Aphelios. Please observe us. Can we look at the gold right now, because it's 3,000 gold lead all across the board. 1,000 gold top lane, 1,000 gold mid lane, 1,000 gold bot lane. All 3 carries are sitting 1,000 gold up to their counterparts. Astralis early game is truly and well online.
And again, this is not off the traditional Astralis playbook. This is not playing through mid. This was top gank and then playing through the bot.
Bot gank, yeah.
Senkax got involved by Flash shifting sands, commanding to attack the Jaxplank who's running from top lane. That's how he got his kill. And this different style of play has worked out very well. Taxa on this Viego got involved where he needs to, and now Carlsen on this Gnar in a position to really dominate one side lane, while this Lucian died down the cleanse. Difficult position for Riddle to be in right now.
And another thing that makes it really difficult, and of course this is not an excuse, is that when a game gets paused and your team is far behind and the energy starts falling a little bit flat and you can't necessarily find many ways to get back into this game. Of course, Riddle have a pretty good scaling team. The Salas, the Gangplank, and Camelai later on. Talia is a big nuisance as well on the map. But when you're falling behind, when your mid laner has internet problems as well, this can take a little bit of a mental toll. As you can see, Carlsen as well on the 2-0 takes the top lane tower as well. This is where Astralis can actually start grouping up, take that mid lane again. Vladdy on the Sylas has been actually suffering. Senkax is going to take that mid lane tower all on his own.
That's every outer tower gone.
And that's been 3 towers in 3 minutes for Astralis right before that dragon spawns as well.
And they're already looking for soul point at this point. This has been, honestly, a reminder in some ways of game 1, but with less overall group play. It's just been every lane kind of winning by itself with a little assistance.
Worse for you. This is level 1, but they have an even more scaling team than they did on that game. So, if anything, Astralis are happy that that early game is going well, because the late game is looking even more scary.
There is 1 ward entering the river from mid lane for Riddle. That's about it. And I just think they're going to have to give up the soul point. They don't want to fight it. And now you are looking down the barrel of an Infernal Soul. All outer towers are down. You're down 4,000 or so gold as well. And Riddle, well, they've got to live up to their namesake and find a way to puzzle their way out of this very precarious situation.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way you actually walk in there if you're Riddle, but Vladdy right here doesn't have an ultimate to his name. They're going to pop the Rift Herald Kiba.
Flash, dredge line, shuffle. There's a Weaver's Wall and a turnaround with a cannon barrage. Astralis have done what they've done a few times. Dive too deep. Got 2 already for Vladdy, but over the wall comes Carlsen looking for a shove. And the teleport comes through, but it's already still a 2-for-1 tower about ready to fall. But look, Kevo and Nash are here. It's a 2v4. A tidal wave comes through and it is surfs up. A culling coming through to try and bring some more meat to the table. Chrisberg's trying to come down as fast as he can. Wallop lands onto 2, but he's shoved back with a seismic shove. Shut down goes the way of Kevo, and the moment we praise Astralis, the moment we say they seem to be in a completely unlosable situation, this happens.
They throw it all away. That's a level 7. Nautilus versus level 11 Silas. And we said he doesn't have an ultimate, but he has enough. He takes the Nautilus ultimate, he sees them for long enough. Stefan is around. Weaver's Wall comes through, Stefan comes through as well, and then everyone just collapses from the side of Riddle, taking away no prisoners with them. And the most important thing is that they also have scaling jammers. They have the Gangplank, they have the Sylas. Well, guess what? Sylas casting 2 kills, 1 shutdown, and then also your Lucian that's been starving the entire of early game gets another one for himself. So right now, a bunch of items will be complete. As you see, Trinity Force and a pickaxe for the GP.
Huge.
You've got full mythic item for your Talia and almost 2 items for Lucian too.
Reminder as well, bounties had just become available, so they pretty much took the entirety of that gold lead away. It's now only 2,000, if that, 1.5. Huge, huge, huge swing in play. And Astralis in mid-game, overextending and overreaching, burns them in this game.
And that is kind of unfortunate from the side of Astralis, because if you look at how fast Senkax is, look at the inventory from Vladdy. Yeah, he not had these 2 kills.
He would be in a lot of trouble.
There is no mythic completed for Sylas, and you're playing against a 2-item Taxa now.
2 levels down, actually, as well on this Talia. Stefan has consistently been getting good farm numbers, but this time he's on a champion who can really carry. He's got only 4 Dark Seal stacks, but certainly scary. He was involved there as well, and that got him to a point where he's pretty scary, and maybe this is a Talia you have to worry about as well. He's kind of matching up to solo laners right now.
Yeah, and in all honesty, we've had Taxa trying to gank a lot, taking a lot of summoners in the early game. He's been very proactive, whilst Stefan has been staying a lot in his jungle. He has been farming away. He's been stealing Taxa's farm every time he ganks.
Oh, he's gonna have Flash, he's gonna have a Weaver's Wall, but Moonshot comes through the heels, gonna keep him alive.
Oh,
Chris Berg now got so deep! Man, Astralis have had this happen twice in a row! The turnaround from the globals of jungle and top earn Riddle a turnaround kill, and Kevo survives.
Oh, but Astralis are keeping on overextending right here.
All over again.
Your most fed member is the Azir. You cannot be fighting away from your Azir. You need to be fighting with him. That's the guy that's doing the most damage on your team right now. And especially due to all the shutdowns, Sylas getting 2 kills, Kevo getting another one in the previous fight, and all the shutdowns, all that money, all these items have helped them take these small skirmishes, take this money back to dead freaking even.
What an extraordinary series of plays that Riddle have managed to do to get back to pretty much parity in gold. It's 200 apart from what was near a 5,000. A remarkable turnaround, and now this Sylas is scary. This Gangplank is starting to get towards items. Lucian back to being a relevant and deadly threat. You're looking down some summoners on Chris Berg.
A second item here. He's going back to base for Kevo, and there is Rapid Fire Cannon playing a little bit from a distance at the very beginning. And of course, Sylas should be getting quite closer to his Zhonya's Hourglass of there, something that Stefan has already purchased. So that means that with so many power spikes, with so much survivability extra, even if he doesn't have his Hourglass yet, Vladdy does have the stopwatch. There is Hourglass onto Stefan. All these little skirmishes, these little stopwatches, these little stasis that these chambers will be going through will give some time to the team to get back that damage.
We have 45 seconds on Infernal Drake, and Stefan was really looking for a Weaver's Wall into Chris Berg there between a Gale Force and a dash, and that extended range with the Rapid Fire Cannon. Chris Berg could quite quickly have been removed from the side of Summoner's Rift. Forward in the lane, they know kind of what's going on. It's control of this mid lane that's the next port of call. 30 seconds on Infernal Soul.
Big reminder right here, if Senkax is able to walk forward and put down his tower, this will be a big win for them, because Astralis' wave will be constantly pushing, which means they get the entrance through the river. They will get to enter the river anyway. Chris Beck, no summoners though. He gets hit by 1 CC. It's going to be very grim for the Astralis AD carry.
All ults available. Chris Berg still down that flash. Stolen Nara ultimate. We know exactly what Sylas can do with that, and a few converted AP ratios. Dragon alive. Here we go.
All eyes again onto Vladdy. Can they catch Chris Berg?
Cannon Barrage is there. Flash into the backside! 4-man Mega Nara. I said it on Monday. And look, Vladdy does it all over again. Carlsen tries to return the favor. It's just not enough. Taxa steals one body. Can they get enough done to Senkax? It's still alive. Senkax and Taxa might win it regardless of the heroics of Vladdy. Jax Blank alone survives, and Astralis survive the onslaught.
Remember, this is not a one-man carry team anymore. Senkax has most of the gold in his pocket. Senkax has the most items in his pocket, and Senkax survives the early aggression from Riddle. Look at Vladdy again. He's going in with the Mega Knight. He will find his target. 4-man ult stun onto to the wall. But the fact that Senkak survives, look at how Carlsen goes in, another huge Mega Gnar for himself. And the fact that Senkak survives for the entirety of these fights, putting down the pain. It's no longer just about Crispberg. You get to kill one, another one survives. Senkak must be the big target right now for Riddle to shut down. 600 gold bounty onto him, almost 3 items. The second he completes this Zhonya's Hourglass, he could even be the engage for Astralis.
And a monster fight from Tax as well. He killed Kevo, he got Vladdy's body, he killed Kevo with it, and now they're going to Baron with Crescendum and Severum. This will not survive for long. Riddle has ultimate. He's going to have to try and come in and make a steal option of it, but now the wall's down. He must throw it down. Vladdy coming over the wall, down to 1500 HP. Baron secured, but can Astralis extricate themselves? They're in there. There's so little room to go. Kiba is dead. 4v5, they must escape. Carlsen hops over. Heartbreaker as well. Crispberg left out to dry, and the rest of Astralis get out with Baron to their name.
Okay, that is a little bit better because people were able to flash or walk out or jump out the pit, but there was no ultimates on Astralis. So even if they were bound into the pit, there was no Azir ult, there was no Aphelios ult, there were no big guns available to them, but now they're chasing Riddles.
They were certainly going to try and keep him away from that mid lane turret at least. Jax Blank towards the top side will be able to get bounties again because now the Infernal Soul and the Baron's gone over, they're right back to being active.
But the thing is, you get 2 minutes when you're gonna permanently shove in these waves with the Baron. Azir has been a complete nuisance because she's a very hard wave-killing champion. So it's really difficult for Riddle to actually open up that mid lane tower if they don't kill this Azir and the Aphelios. So this is why you see Riddle really bundle up in the mid lane. Maybe Senkak overextends, maybe he ends up dying. This is the chance to actually push. But again, the fact that they have Baron, this is going to be most likely the Hourglass for Senkak as well. Kiba might get caught.
Stayed around, he's got flash, burns it. Will he be enough to keep himself alive? Dredgeline and Depth Charge comes out. Trying to turn it around, does go wide. Astralis, quick to respond, keep their support alive.
Senkak just entered the fray as well. A missing Moonlight Vigil from Crispberg right there. I think we'll call this team fight off. 1.5 minutes on this Baron, and the Dragon will be coming on soon. But look at the top lane. Carlsen has actually built up a pretty good wave, and now they're syncing up mid and top together. Reminder, Crispberg does not have ult, Kiba does not have ult, so Astralis cannot walk far enough. Stefan, though, very crucially, no mana. So with the next wave, they might be able to actually push in and break the base. Carlsen still continue the siege from the top side.
He's such a big part of their wave clear in a lot of ways, actually, ironically, as Kevo throws out the culling, forces Crispberg to burn that Gale Force. Still has own available, does Kevo, so can maybe look for an assassination at some point, but Astralis not afraid yet, not backing. Jax Blank has had to go and deal with Carlsen as Stefan looking to see whether he can catch out the Gnar on the side as that tier 2 in mid lane falls. Astralis claimed that one as well, and all of those outer turrets now done, and Astralis right back in command of the game despite Riddle's heroics in the comeback.
And Astralis is back on track. They've got the soul. It's going to be an Infernal Soul in their pockets. They've got every single outer tower taken down, which means that the second Riddle walk out their base, it's lights out. They have to get into the jungle. They have to put down their vision. They need to make sure that they're not actually overextending or face checking because they have 0 tanks into their team. If lights go out into your jungle, who's gonna face check for you? Kevo right there might be getting caught by Taxa, or is Taxa?
Pretty well, Taxa, very squishy. Tidal Wave comes over, a lot of damage onto Senkak. That is the crown popped. 2 minutes on Elder Dragon. Kevo on the wrong side of the wall here. Carlsen nearly at Mega, nowhere for Kevo to go. The Lucian is taken out. He'll die twice this time around, Nash. Straight out the Aqua Prison. Not gonna quite land. Dredgeline just wide as well. Senkak's looking for a monster shuffle. Over the wall he goes. And he'll delete the Nami as well. Sushi for breakfast it is.
And Astralis so dominant on the map. They see champion, they kill champion. Riddle seem to be in shambles right here. They don't seem to be able to play the front to back that they always want. They do not have the tanks, they do not have the engage. And Astralis are holding all the tools. Astralis are holding all the carries in the hats. Senkak's alive, Crispberg alive. 3 items apiece. Can Astralis win right here?
Gonna try and make this happen. Tax goes in, gets the Spectral Maw. Shut down though, makes that a 1-for-1. What can happen from here if the Moonlight Vigil also use Senkak's on about 3rd HP. Still trying to go for this inhibitor turret regardless. Kevo respawn, can maybe look for some more. Has Flash, has Gale Force, has of course that relentless pursuit. But how far will they pursue Astralis? They'll seed the inhibitor turret but not the inhibitor itself. And they'll call that at least an acceptable cost.
And Taxa gives up his HP bar, his entire HP bar, might I say, for the victory right there. And he does this in this clip as well. He face check every one of our access from Riddle, thinking that, well, if the jungle goes down, we can actually take control of the game at this point. But Kev overextends, gets caught by Carlsen. Then Carlsen will flash over the wall very aggressively. Nash is caught by a beautiful ult from Kiba as well. And the pursuit continues. Senkax will jump over 2 walls, actually. I was about to say 1 wall, but I wasn't correct right there. And again, Astralis are holding all of the tools in their toolkit. They've got Chrisberg on 2 items. They've got Senkax on 3.5, 5, 0, and 1. Astralis mid laner has been the shining light from game 1. Has not died a single time in this one.
Not at all. Senkax has been a phenomenal player across his playoffs and looking here to drag his team, lead his team. Drag perhaps far too harsh a term for how well a lot of these games have been played, even if Riddle have thrown a few punches of their own. They're looking to match up with X7 in the next round. They are looking to claim an Elder Dragon. They are looking to make sure Riddle have no way back into this game.
And Riddle are forced to walk into the mid lane, but
God,
Senkax
Senkax deletes him. He's just gone. The Emperor of Shurima will have no dissent from some rat in a desert. Talia is gone, and now the culling comes through, but what are you going to cull? But water! Cannon Barrage comes through, shut down onto the Silas. He's dead. Carlsen hopping forwards. Nash, who's trying to die Claude his blessings, but there's nothing to bless but the graves of his friends. Senkax is godlike. A double to the Emperor. They got themselves an Elder Dragon to go to, and there's nothing for Riddle to do. They don't even need to bother. They'll just go and end the game.
They're gonna end the game. Carlsen instantly TP'd on the bot lane wave, trying to keep the minions alive. There's only a Gangplank. It's only Jaxplank. It's only the Pentakill guy from game 1 and 5. Very aggressive Astralis members trying to end the game, trying to defeat the odds.
Astralis are looking to make sure the sins of spring are well and truly forgotten. They were written off in some ways before. Players, they come in and make an absolute statement. 3-1 Astralis move on to fight X7.
What an absolute performance by the Danish org. And honestly, every single member stepped up in ways that I didn't actually expect from Astralis. We thought they were playing a very particular game. We saw their blueprint in game number 1. The blueprint worked, but they lost. And we're like, what else do they have in the kit? What else can they bring out? And then they started playing all over the map, and it worked wonders. Carlsen with the solo kills, Taxa going towards the bot lane for if anything. Chrisberg with the early kill, Kiba all over the map, and Senkax. I think if there was an MVP for this series, Senkax gets my vote right here because he didn't even die in this last game. Lissandra, Azir, Talia, and Swain. There you go. Absolutely fantastic performance by the mid laner.
Well, we were beginning to wonder what the ceiling was of Astralis. Perhaps they are going to reach for the stars and EU Masters. To the desk we go, and brace yourself for a little Danish pride.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Så det min tur, gutter. Damer og herrer, det her det er stort. Kom nu. We win. We finally did something. We haven't done something since last summer. We won a best of 5. It's been a year. Finally, though. We are back.
It's cute that he said we finally did something. This was how bad it was for you guys. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I got my hair. There you go. Astralis winning 3-1 yet again. Another score of 3-1 versus Riddle. And I want to take the point that Trouble brought in before we jump into this game. It was mostly about individual plays on this one. They just rised up to the occasion. This is not something we've seen before from Astralis. This is a new showcase and a good showcase of what this team can achieve.
Yeah, I think Astralis, they played better than I would have expected them to, in all honesty. I knew they had the potential to win this best of 5, but I obviously knew I was also a little bit Denmark biased in my heart, so I was like, if I am to be completely realistic, who is the favorite? And I talked to Mubs about this when we walked to the studio. Yeah, in all honesty, Riddle are the favorites, but Astralis had a chance, and they took the chance.
Before we dive into what happened in this game, I'd like to remind you guys that there's going to be a vote for the MVP, and the chosens are Kiba, Carlsen, and Senkax. These are the 3 ones picked for today. The roaming support, the one that faced Jaxplank and got solo bowlers against him, or even the rotating, oh, there you go, and even the immortal Swain. the annoying guy, and also the assassin. He was everything on this game as well. So hit your votes and tell us who do you think deserves the MVP of this matchup. Now we can finally talk about what happened during this game. There was a clock. We definitely felt that one. The time ran out for Riddle. We got to see some signs that Astralis, even though they got a lead, they didn't quite knew what to do with it, though. That is a dangerous thing to talk about now.
Yeah, I think if you get a lead,
Love it. I love it. Continue.
if you don't really know what to do with it, I think you're just gonna run out of time, and that's what Riddle did.
And it seems like Astralis evolved throughout these series. It definitely seems like this is a brand new team and developed team, no?
Yeah, I am very excited for the matchup against X7 now, because coming into this, we knew when Astralis played to their strength, it looked very good when they ganked the mid lane, when they got that lead rolling. It was good. But when that didn't happen, it looked very bad. Let's be honest. It didn't look good. They lost the games. They were passive. They fell. English is hard. They came back into the spring edition of Astralis where they needed the big go buttons. They didn't really do anything. They just fell flat. So for them to this series, adapt and play different playstyles was so nice, so refreshing to watch.
Yes.
And I think they will give X7 a good run for their money, even though they will come in as underdogs.
Let's talk about that later on, as we need to showcase those advantages and the news Astralis on a few team fights that we have. On the Soul fight, for instance, where Astralis got that Infernal. It was really important for them to get an Infernal Soul, obviously, getting the Gnar, getting the Azir. I would like to showcase. There you go. Lead me through this one, Duckling.
Yeah, so this was the one where it really looked like maybe Riddle could come back a 4-man Gnar. Remember the good AP scaling that is on that was obviously coming through with the Silas, but in the end, Carlsen held onto his, and more importantly, Taxa, able to get the resets, and that really led him to have enough damage to reset through the fight, almost dying here, but managed to pick up Nash, heals up a bit, and while they were focused on trying to take down Taxa, someone in the backline, aka Sencox, was just hitting away with the soldier, stealing the damage, and they turned it around, and after that fight, it became very hard, near impossible for Riddle to come back.
It seems like Sencox says, no, Taxid is really good at playing Lucian. We talked about that, like, this guy's actually good playing Lucian. I wonder. And another one that we want to showcase you as we move along with this is the last team fight. I specifically picked this one to be a replay because of the way Carlsen played. He usually plays like, do I need to go? Should I go or not? He was the one taking agency on this one. As soon as he see Kiba engage, he was like, I'm going in. I don't care. It was the front line. He never allowed anyone to play versus this. He was constantly tanking this, Merps.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just took the command and yeah, just being the Mega Gnar as is and just taking over the fight.
It's important to see a young player like this taking the lead on the fight.
I was very impressed because this Carlsen felt like the kind of carry Carlsen we had back in the Danish League for 2020 when he played that in the second division. He was aggressive. He looked for the solo kills. He found 2 solo kills this game. He was ready to go. He wasn't just trying to survive on a side lane. He was thriving against Jax Plank of all people. That's what I'm most impressed by. And this was his biggest series of his career so far. And I'm very impressed with how he performed, and I'm excited to see how he develops moving forward into 2022 playoffs and also 2023.
If you keep talking highly of him, might as well bring him to the interview to talk with him about what happened with this amazing series. I want to see that smile. I want to see... There, oh, look at that smile. That is a big one. Carlsen, welcome to the interview. Congratulations on a 3-1. How do you feel before we even start talking? What is the feeling, right?
No. It's great. You know, I haven't really... It's very new to me playing on this level and being able to not only make playoffs, but also compete in playoffs and actually bring something to the table. It feels really great.
Carlsen, at the beginning of the day, you knew you had to face Jax Plank. He's a beast on the top lane. We all know this. It's really complicated to deal with this guy. You like to play the Gnar, he likes to play the Irelia, so you know even your picks are complicated versus him. How did you prepare yourself for the game?
I mean... I wasn't really scared of his counter picks. I didn't really care. I just care about if I'm comfortable on what I'm playing. Backlashed a bit in game 2 in the Gnar really a matchup, but otherwise, I think that showed as well.
How was the communication of the team throughout the day? It was a rough start for you guys, obviously, but they did a perfect comeback in that game. What was the shift in mentality as soon as you guys were able to recover from what was happening?
I mean, there wasn't really any shift. We had the early game down, we really destroyed them early game 1. So we kind of just rinse and repeat the plan for game 2.
So you never
Yeah,
felt nervous
well,
in the
never.
series?
There's always nerves when you're playing and trying to perform, but other than that, not any excessive nerves.
Okay, at the end of the day, you got it versus Riddle. This is quite important. What do you believe this means for you? How important is winning, getting to playoffs and winning first round for you?
Very important for me. I always want to compete. I want to win every match I go into, of course, but yeah, it's very big to make playoffs and perform in my first year of playing in Euros.
Carlsen, now we're heading to the tough question. You had to deal with Jax Plank. Obviously, he's a tough guy, but now you're facing Chasey versus X7. Viking is a beast at ganking as well. How are you feeling about that matchup?
I'm not really any more nervous than every other match I play. It's just a regular match for me.
You're kind of tough right now. You're feeling it. You're feeling it. So you think you have what it takes to bring X7 down and just move on? Because if you win versus them, Carlsen, you are the TU Masters.
Indeed, yeah. I'll go into the match with full confidence. I'm not worried at all.
This is a new Carlsen. This is a new Carlsen. This is what playoffs does to you guys. This is complicated. Thank you so much for the interview, Carlsen. Yet again, congratulations. I love seeing that smile on your face. Keep killing it. Keep killing it. Have
Thanks,
a nice
man.
one.
Appreciate it. You too.
See ya. It's good to see this guy smile like this and invigorated. He's feeling comfortable.
He was comfortable. He was excited. He was confident. That's what I like to see. It feels so good to see Carlsen thrive because his spring split, in all honesty, was a bit of an adjusting period. Coming from the Danish National League into the NLC, it's a big gap and that could definitely be felt on him. So over the course of the year, the way he has developed has been very satisfying. And I felt like we saw all the improvement here today. He played better. He played confident. He got solo kills up against Jax Plank and Riddle of all teams. So I was very happy with his performance. And wow, what a player.
I want to bring this down a little bit. Merbs, is this the honeymoon effect of winning the first round of playoffs where he's not even afraid of X7? We have to keep it real. X7 are looking menacing. We also saw a few flaws, which is important, obviously. But is this the honeymoon?
I think after today's series, he feels very confident. But I think moving into X7, it's gonna be tough.
It's going to be tough. Well, let's talk with Riddle. Tom Kick is waiting for us for another interview. Welcome. Hey, we have to do this, Tom Kick. We have to do this. Obviously, it was a tough one for you guys. And let's start from the beginning. What was the plan coming in for today versus Astralis?
We were pretty confident coming into this day. We had prepped some different things like that you got to see. But sadly, we just weren't able to play our own game, and we just ended up losing to ourselves. We had a lot of games in our own hands, and it was looking good at some points, but sadly, we couldn't really clutch it out.
Let's be honest, looking into Astralis, the way they played today versus the way they played on the previous weeks, what are you expecting this sort of excellency from them? The way, the agency, everything they brought in, it seemed like a new Astralis facing versus you guys. Were you expecting this sort of level from Astralis?
Of course, we were respecting Astralis. Like, it's a do or die series. Anything can happen. So, like, giving the utmost respect to the opponent is really important. So we were just trying to play our best, and they really showed up today, and it held up against us.
You think there is anything, if you would go back to the cities, that you would change facing Astralis, or you guys did all that you could?
I think, of course, when you look at it, when it's so close like this, there's always things you would want to change, always things you can do differently. But in the end, it's always in the moment. So I think the same would probably happen another day, and it's just up to us to get ourselves together. But sadly, this was the last straw, so we don't have anything else to change.
Looking into the future, I have to ask you, it's going to be Astralis versus X7. Who do you think is going to take it? And if you can, tell me the score.
I think that X7 is still the strongest out of those two. Astralis had shown great potential today, but I think X7 is going to take it. Maybe Astralis can take a game, so I'll be kind to guess 3-1 to X7 probably.
Tom Kick, At the end of the day, you guys did an amazing run. It was really lovely to see. You brought in a lot of action. You gave highlight to the top lane, which we don't get to see that often. I'm proud of that as well, but I want to give you this space and time for your words, the last words from Summer Split. Tom Kick.
Thanks everybody for rooting for us. Thanks for the support overall. It's been a season with a lot of ups and downs, and sadly it ended really brutally like this. We have been close to a lot of greatness, but I appreciate everybody that has just been rooting for us and helping us stay motivated throughout the season, and hoping that you guys will cheer on Riddle for the coming splits to come. Thank you, everybody.
Good words, Tom Kick. Keep climbing the mountain, man. You fell on your knees right now, but you can get up and keep climbing, man. Have a nice one. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thanks, man.
They brought a lot. We have to be honest. Riddle brought in a lot. Were you expecting this sort of composition and determination and even playstyle from Riddle at the beginning of the split, Merbs?
I got a bit confused on the last draft on the fourth game, but I think, I mean, how the first games played out, I think they needed a change, but I think that was not it.
Yeah, I think Riddle, I really liked the roster. When it came in on paper, I was kind of like, if this works, it's going to work well. And we saw that period when it worked well, when they had the long win streak, when they came almost to the top of the table. But when people really figured out how to play against Jaxplank, it became harder and harder for them, and they had to be more creative. And in the end, they weren't able to overcome it. But I really loved watching this team. I was personally big fans of how Jaxplank and Vladi performed at the last EU Masters. So I was very happy to bring them over to our region and watch them style on some of our opponents. It was great having them in the league, but sadly, when someone moves on in playoffs, someone has to go home.
Someone has to go back, and yeah, another person can keep climbing the mountain. So you keep talking about the solo bolos or even those plays from Jaxplank, which leads us to the play of the day by MasterCard. I think you know what I'm talking about, but take a look. What do you think it is?
Any guesses? Could it be the game-deciding pentakill of game number 1? A game where they were 8k gold down, and they managed to turn it around in the late-game team fights when Jaxplank got to be that menace on the side lane where they simply couldn't stop him. He got the resets, and his team helped him up nicely, getting the last kill here on Keep as he's trying to flee to the Nexus for safety. There was no safety. There was only... not even the Martian Justice, it's Noxus actually.
It's completely the opposite, by the way. Thank you so much for that one. How to ruin an entire pentakill.
I'm sorry, man, it's not that.
Okay. As we move on to the next one, I just want predictions of what do you guys expect for the next matchup, X7 versus Astralis. What do you guys think?
I think X7 will come in as favorites, but due to Astralis playing really good today, I think they can actually have a good shot.
What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to hit on the same note. Astralis are not the heavy favorites. It is X7 who are definitely the favorites coming into this one. They were the team with by far the most momentum heading into the lower bracket. And obviously we have to remember that is the match for the last EU Master spot that we have. So both teams will be giving it their all. I think Astralis are gonna push them to the edge, but I do think X7 have the edge. So obviously, I'm crossing my Danish fingers here, let's be completely honest. But in all honesty, X7 are the favorites. And if everything goes to plan, they are going to take it.
But that's going to be on Wednesday. Monday, we'll take on Dusty versus JDXL. First seed versus the second one. Finally, we'll be able to see who's the best on the best of 5. MVP award goes to no other than mid laner Syncux throughout this series. He was a beast. He brought in a lot of different playstyles, but I gotta give an honorable mention to Kiba. He unlocked so much in this map. I would like to get a support like that on my solo queues. That is lovely.
Yeah, we have to give an honorable mention to the entirety of Astralis. They all played very well. Everyone showed up. Everyone played to their role, to near perfection in the games that they won, in my humble opinion. And I definitely agree with you, Keeper. He was a treat to watch. His roaming is unmatched. That experience as a jungler for many years in competitive play definitely shining through. I haven't seen a support in a long time roam nearly as good as him and always be first on the play.
Yeah, the macro Kiba was bringing was so good. But to end the day, Merps, final words. What do you have to say from this experience, playoffs, NLC, bringing the Teemo hat? Give it to me.
It has been very fun, and I'm honored to actually be invited to this. And Thank you, all.
Thank you for being here and for bringing all your knowledge and sharing it with us. It was amazing. Duckling, you already spoke, so I'm going to wrap up the entire day. It was... I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. Come on.
Well, I mean, thank you. I've been down here 5 times now over the course of my summer holiday, but school starts up soon, so this should be it for me. I have to go back to school. I have to do my business studying. So thank you guys for having me. It's been great being down here. I've loved every single minute, except for the one night I had to sleep at 38 degrees in a hotel without air condition. Other than that, it's been perfect. I've loved it working with every one of you guys. I've loved being here in the studio. I've loved the production. I've loved everything. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here as well. We actually enjoyed having you here. Besides all of the memes, we did enjoy having you here as a guest, bringing all your knowledge as a play-by-play as well. You did an amazing job on research as well. For you guys back at home, it was lovely to have you with us on the show, even with electricity, without electricity. Production, you guys are killing it, just bringing the NLC more above and beyond. Keep climbing that mountain. I'll see you on Monday. Have a nice one.